My name is Glenda Matsune. I'm a personal trainer here in Okinawa, Japan. I've been bodybuilding for about 3 years.
Take us back to the beginning of the season and kind of what your sights were, where your head was, what your goals were.
This year started off, my past show was for me to kind of see how bodybuilding, my first show was for me to kind of see how I would do in the bodybuilding industry. I was self coached. So I was like, okay, if I could do it myself, I could probably help other people do it. So I started coaching other athletes. I put, I believe, 6 athletes on stage this year. One of them won overall for bikini for Beast East in Okinawa, which was a really good, like it was great for me as a coach. So this year I started off trying to do the local show, which is FWJ. Um, I forget what it stands for, but it's one of the biggest regional shows. And then they did the Olympia as well. So I was going to do the Okinawa regional show this year. I started prepping for that. Um, Mid prep, I was like, okay, my mental health is not in it. So I had to kind of stop prep for the Okinawa show. Um, just my relationship with food was not great. Mental health was not great. So I stopped prepping for the Okinawa regional show. And then 2 weeks before the Beast East, which is a military hosted um, bodybuilding show, I was like, oh, I can step on stage in 2 weeks. So I started prepping for it in 2 weeks. Won the division I competed in, which was wellness, surprisingly. I did it for fun. So um, surprisingly, I won that one as well. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can do a November show. So I did a regional show in Saitama, which is in the Tokyo region as well. So I flew in November. I did the November 4th show, and then I also competed in the Amateur Olympia, which is in November as well. So recently, a week ago.
When you were looking ahead at this season, is that something that you kind of had these like really specific kind of like markers that you were looking for, whether it be like accomplishment on stage or physique, or these are just some things that, maybe I want to hit as far as like some sort of analytics or anything like that to be like, okay, I know we're heading in a certain direction, or this is kind of the feedback I had before. So now I'm gonna, see what I can do to build upon that and kind of work on that, and then go from like the first show and see, okay, this is what they're telling me now, or really getting into the year and the season. What was your? I mean, obviously, like it's a sport, so everybody wants to win. But
Right.
overall, what was your target as far as like looking at it and going, regardless of the placing on stage, I will know I got better if this happened. Are you a personal trainer, online fitness coach, or gym owner on the verge of burnout? Are you wanting to grow your fitness business but can't add more hours to your hectic schedule? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today.
All I really wanted to do this year was step on the Olympia stage. Obviously, anyone that does the Olympia Amateur is aiming for their pro card. So I had hopes to get my pro card, but at the same time, it was such a big goal. So I knew it wasn't probably going to happen this year. But I wanted to try for it. Yeah.
Is that something you find is like helpful to you, is setting those bigger goals that give you, bigger motivation?
Yes, I think ultimately like my goal is to get my pro card. Um as a, amateur. I and also as a coach, I want to prove to myself that I could get there and then eventually step on the bigger stage in the States as well. Yeah.
So getting helping other people get on stage, is that something that like how does that affect you in your own journey as a bodybuilder? How does that impact you as far as, maybe confidence or anything else? How does that go?
Mhm. So this year was my first year coaching other athletes. And I think it was, like I said, I had failed prep in July. I think it had a lot to do with trying to coach myself and coach six other athletes. It was really hard, honestly, with coaching. It's not just their nutrition, it's not just their, you know, progress, it's everything, their stress levels. Most of my clients, when we do check ins, because I do in person check ins as well, when we do our check ins, it turns into like counseling sessions. And they're like, oh, you're my therapist. I'm like, oh, yeah, like I have to get to know their, like everything that's going on with their life for me to be able to help them um, with their, you know, journey. Yeah.
So working with people in that like really personal capacity, does that
Mhm.
ever help you, open your eyes to something that maybe you're going through, but you don't realize you're going through until somebody says something, and then it's like, oh, I kind of have that similar feeling, or
Yeah.
I'm going through that, but I didn't really haven't pinpointed that in myself yet. Has that ever happened?
Mhm. I think going through prep with my, because the FWJ show and the BCDE show was around the same time frame. So going through prep with my athletes, I learned and was motivated through them as well. Um, Negatives and positives. So, someone might say, "Oh, I see my peanut butter and I want to eat the whole jar." I'm like, and then I go home and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that peanut butter does look good." So like positives, it was like, you know, like when they are like motivated to do something or when they're like, "Oh, I did really good this week." I'm like, "Okay, I get motivated to follow my protocol as well." So, yeah, there's definitely negatives and positives with going through prep with your client.
How do you manage the energy and the emotional side of going through a prep with a client when you're also, going through those same things? How do you keep your professional, like, positive spirits up and your,
Mhm.
encouragement and motivation even though you might have low energy and, not be feeling the best?
Honestly, that was that was really hard for me too, like, just trying to be, like, a leader, because essentially you have to lead by example. So it was when I'm in my low and they're in their low, I have to kinda step up and be, the motivator and be um, the guide for them. So it was really tough, but I think from feedback from my clients, I think that we did really well this year and everyone was satisfied.
Looking at that time period to where you kind of, dropped out of that one show, but then a couple weeks later, there was the opportunity for another show. What
Mhm.
made you make that decision that was like, "All right, I'm going for this one"?
I was already lean enough and like decided to like drop out of the other prep. So um honestly, I just had the itch to step on stage. And I already had the bikini, the new bikini and like everything. So I was like, you know what? Let me just step on stage, see how it goes. Just do it for fun. Um, the rush that I get when I get like step on stage is like the adrenaline. It's like I think I'm an adrenaline junkie for that. Yeah. Yeah, I just watching my clients also prep and like get excited and everyone's hyped to like be on stage. It just motivated me to be like, oh, I want to be up there with them. Just kind of have fun with it.
Was there any sense of, like, a lowered level of expectation that kinda took some pressure off of you because you knew even though you were, kind of ready because you had been getting ready, you were just getting into this completely different show and different maybe feelings about
Yeah.
it, and So there was less of this feeling of like expectation on you.
So like all year long, pressure, like pressure was so heavy on me because I was coaching and then I had my own goals. So it was a lot. I think it was partly why I had decided to drop off like prep. And I always said that, I'm just gonna after dropping out of prep, I said I'm just gonna focus on my clients and make sure they're good. And then yeah, the pressure was really, really rough. So just trying to step on stage for fun was really good for me, I think.
What did you get out of that experience that maybe was different from other times you've stepped on stage because of that lack of expectation?
I think I went up there and just had fun. Like it wasn't a lot of like, oh, you know, no one steps on stage knowing that they're going to win. Um, so, but at the same time, I'm very competitive. I remember going to the athletes meeting and getting like a little bit like cold feet with um, seeing another girl because like she looked so good, and I was like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, but I had to remind myself I'm just doing this for fun. I'm going to be backstage with my athletes, and I'm going to motivate them and have fun with them. And
Are you a personal trainer who wants to scale and grow your business online? Have you been coaching online for years, yet don't know how to incorporate online into your current business model? Introducing Trainer Revenue Multiplier, the premier wealth creation system for fitness professionals that helps you earn more and work less. Visit www.trainerrevenuemultiplier.com today to schedule your free business accelerator session. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, schedule your call today. Is it common for you, and do you feel like maybe even other competitors, to look at the other competitors and kind of like be like, okay, I feel like I could beat them, and maybe they,
yeah,
that one would be close, or they're way better?
like I said, like you don't ever, I don't ever go into like backstage and like be like, oh, I'm gonna win. Like I I try not to get my expectations that high. But going into the amateur Olympia backstage, I was like, there's no way I'm even gonna place because everyone like looks so good. Everyone does their best, right? They prep, they put their 100% in it. Um, so I think I think for me, I go more towards I lean more towards expecting less. Like I don't expect to win. Um and maybe like my body dysmorphia too. Like, they look so much better, and everyone puts their 100%. So I think I lean more towards not expecting anything and just doing my best and like knowing that I prepped for it and did my posing and put my 100% into it. At the end of the day, it's a competition, and like it's not my opinion that matters. So I have to remind that to myself, and I also remind that to my athletes. Like it's not no one else's opinion matters but the judges. So you just put your 100% in, do what you have to do your posing properly, and then we'll see how it goes. Like, I can't tell you that you're going to win, and I don't know if you're going to win. At the end of the day, it's up to the judges.
Do you think that's harder for you to accept as an athlete every kind of going into each show? It's harder to accept that kind of, or do you think it's harder to instill that into newer athletes?
Yeah, I think it's a mental battle, honestly. Like, you can tell someone, get out of your head, just do your best. But at the end of the day, it's up to your sense of self to like make sure that you're confident within the work that you put in.
For you, what is it about coaching yourself?
So the beginning of this year, I had hired a coach. Actually, I had her for about 3 months. Um, it's Coaching is such a two-way relationship, in my opinion, and it's hard to find that person to really connect with, and get you. Um, with me, obviously, like I also have my own knowledge. I had that relationship with that one coach just didn't click well. I think we clashed in a sense because I had my way of doing things and then she had her way of doing things. And so I had a lot of questions. I may have been like a harder client to deal with because of that. I had tried hiring a coach and then had a not so good experience. So then I decided, okay, maybe I'll just do it myself again. But I am open to finding a new coach. At the end of the day, hiring a coach is expensive. Like with that bad experience, I was like, why? Why am I going to pay someone to coach me if it's not going to benefit me as much? So I'm open to hiring a coach, but also maybe more of a mentorship instead of a coaching relationship. I did go through a mentorship program as well, which helped a lot more than hiring a coach. So, yeah.
What do you look for as, especially in that mentor relationship? What are things that you are looking for and things that, you find valuable in that relationship?
With the mentorship, I found it beneficial, like learning through their experience. So I obviously don't have that much experience when it comes to bodybuilding. I've only been doing this for about 3 years. So it's beneficial for me to, troubleshoot and learn more through experience versus accountability and check-ins and like someone telling me what to do versus someone guiding me through.
Doing it with kind of a side of like, what do you think? How do what do you think about this? What would you do in this situation? And then
Mhm.
you go and implement that thing for yourself.
Exactly. As long as the experience is there and the knowledge is there, I am open to learning. I guess it's more for me, I want to learn more about bodybuilding. So it doesn't really matter if they're still competing or not. I want to absorb like a sponge.
And absorbing other information, and I know today there's so many resources and
Mhm.
podcasts and things out there for people to absorb. What are some things
Mhm.
that you try to look at, or content that you consume? How do you kind of structure your own consumption of that information that's out there?
So I believe it's like very trial and error. So I listen to multiple podcasts. I listen to your podcast and other people's experience as well. I listen to a couple of bodybuilding podcasts. And at the end of the day, bodybuilding, there are like some concrete information, but at the end of the day, it's very personalized. Like you can apply one thing to one person and then it might not work for the other person. So it's very trial and error, problem solving and troubleshooting with clients. Yeah.
Is it concrete to you, I guess, like how much this has worked for other people that then
Mhm.
you kind of tried in a certain way or tried the way they're doing it? Or is it like how much are you willing to experiment versus how much are
Mhm.
you willing to kind of just be like, this is kind of what's already standard, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this because it takes less, time and potential, opportunities to mess up. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of do this thing.
It's funny that you say experiment because with me, I experiment with myself as a self-coached athlete. So I implement certain things that I think might work, and then if it works for me, I would recommend to try it with my clients. So I'm my own guinea pig, I guess. So I try to implement it on myself, and then if it works, then I have positive results through that experiment, then I recommend it to my clients and then they try it. Um, and I'm very open with my clients as well. I'm like, hey, this is something I've tried. I learned it from so and so information. I got this information from so and so. And so I've tried it. It worked for me. Let's go ahead and try it for you. It's trial and error for myself. And then if it works for me, then I implement it on my athletes as well. It's really fun to experiment on myself.
How do you stay competitive in something that's getting even more competitive?
I think for me, I'm very passionate about bodybuilding, and it's a lifestyle. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's a lifestyle. Like whether you're in prep or you're off season, it's something that I constantly think about. And, every action, whether it be good or bad, will affect my end goal. So I, I live and breathe, I think, bodybuilding. So, yeah, which
So
is a good thing, I think, as a
yeah,
coach.
certainly I think as a coach it is, coaching yourself and coaching others, you have
Yeah.
to be committed, you have to be, passionate about it, or else I think it just becomes, because it's really monotonous, right? Like it's the same
Yeah.
thing. So, if you really aren't passionate about it, it just gets boring, I would say, and
Mhm.
you'd be just kind of get burnt out very quickly. But talking about more about kind of coaching yourself, what are some of the biggest challenges and biggest hurdles with coaching yourself? Maybe from like a psychological perspective, also maybe from like a physical perspective.
Having a coach definitely keeps you more accountable. I think I struggled with nutrition a lot this year. My relationship with food, I think, has shot. Like, it's just not great even now. Having someone to run to and problem solve with, I think that's a struggle that because I could have a protocol for myself, and then in my head, I'm like, well, maybe I could like go off protocol today. And then the next day, I'm like, the coach in me is like, oh, well, now we got to change it up because you messed up yesterday. So that was a lot of mental struggle for me, was nutrition, because I live at the gym. I work there. I could be on the I could do cardio all day if I have to. I hate cardio, but I could make myself do it. But I think the hardest part is nutrition. Yeah, that's what I struggled with the most this year.
When you start to notice that, how do you start to correct yourself in positive ways?
Whenever I had, went off plan, I would go back to what I tell my clients. So I would have like clients that would go off plan, and I would give myself the same grace. Like, what would I tell my client? There was times when my client, went off plan, and I had told them, forget about what you did. Let's go ahead and forget about yesterday and look forward. So I think with me as a self coach athlete, I had to give myself the same grace and remind myself, what did I tell my client yesterday when she went off plan? So I have to tell myself that now too.
Going into like being your own coach when those times get hard, and you start to maybe doubt yourself, and what you're trying to do and what you've created and the plan to follow, and all those things it starts to feel bleaker. That's a word.
Mhm.
Or bleak, I don't know.
Mhm.
But where do you really find that light? Where do is it someone that you look to? Is it encouragement or motivation from, outward or inward sources? Or, really, where do you and how do you like pick yourself back up after, that time, or in that time, and go, all right, let's get back to it.
Mhm. I had to really dig deep. There was days where, you know, I would just want to sit at home and just like be sad about, my progress, and um but really dig deep within myself. At the end of the day, like, so many like outside noise can affect us, but I think that we have to really dig deep within ourselves and just, I had to remind myself, what is my goal here? Where am I trying to go? And then also having the support system that I do have, and, people that believe in me. And, I would cry some days when like other people like tell me how I look great. I'm doing so good, but I didn't really believe in myself. So I felt like a fraud at times. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I'm not doing good. And everyone would be like, yes, you are. So like that outside motivation as well, people telling me I had to really listen to those who believe in me on the outside and then be like, okay, yeah, actually, I am doing good. Everyone like being positive around you and telling you, that little compliment, like, you look great, like, you're doing so good, you look leaner. I'm like, oh, I agree.
After the show that, you kind of had that 2 week prep for, what were your thoughts and feelings, and did you have any change of... This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Outlook or perspective on the rest of the season after that show?
Yeah. So I think winning that fun show got in my head a little bit. I felt like I'm like, oh, I could do anything now. So it was really good for my ego, to say the least.
I think there's like a balance there between like the confidence builder and confidence boost, and then knowing, okay, like where does that turn into a negative? Where does that turn into overconfidence? Where does
Oh
that
yeah.
turn into, stopping doing what I've been doing to get there and gain that credibility, basically? Did that ever sneak up on you in any negative ways?
Absolutely. I think like I said, I got in my head, my head got blew up and I was like, oh, I can do a show in 2 weeks. And everyone, like everyone's like motivating you and they're like, damn, like you did prep in 2 weeks. So I'm like, yes, I did. And so it was really rough going into the regional show, the bigger show, because I thought I could do anything. And going into the national show, which was the Amateur Olympia, I felt like being backstage, I felt like a little fish in a big pond. Like,
There's some like value in almost like being delusional a little bit.
it's funny that you use the word delusional because me and my friends always talk about, the word delulu. So we talk about, me being delulu. I'm like, yep, I'm delusional. It's okay. It takes crazy to make big things happen. So I think that in a certain way, yeah, you have to think big and manifest your goals and all that good stuff. But like you said, like it takes balance to know that like where you're at, where your level. I think that's where the book knowledge comes in and the scientific parts of it comes in. So sometimes, I am delulu. I am delusional. I have big dreams. I have crazy dreams. But at the same time, I have to go back and, reread the books or go back to basics. Because at the end of the day, the basics is the foundation of bodybuilding. You can't build a good foundation without the basics.
What were your hopes and feelings about, like, okay, well, we're going into this next show? Did you feel yourself setting expectations again? Did you feel yourself, even though, you had that positive experience without them, and kind of noticing that, but then do you feel yourself starting to set them again because, you have this success?
Yeah. So going into the regional FWJ show, I had prepped for about 12 weeks, which was not enough because they said I was too soft. I think that's where the delusion, no, the Lulu came in. I was like, I did it in 2 weeks, so let me just do 12 weeks, which was not enough. I knew it wasn't enough going into stepping on stage. I did 4 classes within bikini and I got second, third. So I placed top five on all of the classes that I did. So that kind of motivated me. And then the Olympia was 2 weeks later. So they told me I was too soft. So I had pushed harder to get leaner for the Olympia. But still, like I said, little fish in a big pond. Everyone at the Olympia was trying to get their pro card. So it really humbled me and made me realize where I really stand in the bodybuilding industry.
Do you ever, looking back at that experience of feeling like the little fish in the big pond, do you ever start to think, where do I stand here? What is my role here? What did it make you feel when you felt like that little fish in a big pond? Which direction did you feel like you wanted to go more?
Yeah. At the time, being backstage, everyone looked so good. I felt out of place, honestly, being there. I knew I wasn't going to place. I knew I wasn't going to do well in that Olympia show. It lit a fire in me. Being back there and feeling a certain way, feeling like I didn't belong, made me feel sad in a way. I could have done better. I know there was things I could have done better. Um, at the end of the day, it's all excuses. Life happens, and I was going through life as well. I did a move. I went through a separation. At the end of the day, those are all excuses. I could have done better, and I know it. And so next year, I know what I have to do. I know I have to get my head in the game. I know I looked better my very first show versus my Olympia show. So I just have to put that same mindset, I think, go dig deep and go back into that mindset. And I think I could do it. I'm gonna take a year off and just grow. I tell everyone I'm gonna get fat this year. Like, watch me grow. So it lit a fire in me, and I'm just more motivated to get back on that Olympia stage and show the judges that I can do better, and show myself, honestly. Yeah.
When you know that that potential is there and you've actually seen it, I think it is
Yeah.
very motivating. As far as motivational, you use that those pictures from your first show and think like, oh, this is where I want to get, or do you feel like maybe utilizing more of those pictures from the Olympian, thinking this is where this is what I want to get better than, or which kind
Mhm.
of motivates you more?
Like I said, it's very personalized. My first show, if I stepped on stage looking the way I did my first show, I still wouldn't. I still wouldn't place at all, in my opinion. At the end of the day, it's the judges' opinions that matter. But in my head, for me, I was too small back then. I definitely know that I grew within my first show versus this year. My problem this year was not leaning out enough. So I think that I have an idea of how I'm gonna manipulate everything towards a better like physique. Yeah. That feeling of being backstage and not feeling like I belong. I definitely don't want to feel that again. So that's gonna motivate me to be, a little bit better next time.
Kind of having this extended, season of growth. I mean, how do you make that transition?
Right now I'm focusing on my relationship with food. Like I said earlier, it's gotten to a place where I'm not happy with my relationship with food at the moment. So I'm taking kind of like a break tracking macros and just going by how I feel. At the end of the day, everyone can say, you have to reverse properly, you have to do this, you have to do that, but you don't realize what that does to you mentally. I'm doing what's best for me right now, which is not track and not overthink things with food and listening to my body and, listening to my hunger cues and reminding myself to stop eating when I'm full and all of that good stuff.
And is that a planned kind of like this is our time period of how long we're going to do this, or is it kind of just let's see, when it comes back to that feeling natural again, or what's
Yeah.
your plan in that?
So, like I said, like it's really hard because there's certain ways that like the book tells you or like the bodybuilding industry tells you what to do. um but for me right now, I really want to focus on spending time with my family and making like having just enjoying life in general. So many activities unfortunately revolves around food. And especially the holiday season, it's insane. So at the moment, what I'm doing is I'm just enjoying life and making sure my training is on point and I'm moving my body and making sure that I'm not overdoing it with food and The other day, my daughter and I had ice cream for dinner. So just like enjoying the little things. And I think come January, I'm gonna be able to start tracking again, and fun times over after the holidays. So like I said, live and breathe bodybuilding. There's timelines for everything. There's time and place. Yeah. The commitment part of it is you have to be dedicated towards your goal. And I think that's something I'm very big on with my clients as well. Like at the end of the day, I can tell you what to do. I could guide you. I could hold your hand, but the only person that can get you there is you.
It was really good catching up and getting to kind of see where
Yeah.
you've been in the last year or so and where you're going into the next year. So best of luck, and all the things that we talked about, the food and the training and the growing and
Yeah, thank you.
the fun
I'm
time.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna try and to do the Olympia again next year, so we'll see how that goes.
If you want to share any socials or any way people can get in touch with you, you can go ahead and do that.
Instagram is Fit with Glenda, and that's where I mostly do my interactions with clients.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.